Welcome to the Unstoppable Business Podcast. Dive into top business trends, ideas, and tips to help you run a better business. Let's jump right in today with your host, Samara.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the latest edition of the Unstoppable Podcast. I'm Chris O'Shea, Head of Marketing at Samara, and today I'm joined by Aaron Mera. Hello, Aaron.
Hey, Chris. How you doing? You okay?
Yeah, I'm not bad at all. How are you?
Yeah, very well. Thanks. Busy, but all good. Thank you.
As always. Right, so today, everyone, we're going to be talking about building your ideal accounting team. So just quickly, Aaron, for anyone who doesn't know, do you want to give us a quick overview of the story of Samara and Samara Global and how we got to where we are today and why?
Yeah, of course I can, Chris. So going back many years, okay, so I trained as an accountant with good old PwC in the late 90s, went into investment banking, decided, you know what, that wasn't for me. I married a dentist meter and I saw an opportunity. I thought, you know what, dentists require accountants, they need help. And so from that point, I quit my job in banking and started up Samara. And Samara was a firm that started off with helping dentists with all their accountancy, compliance, tax needs. And that grew and grew. Over the years, we added commercial finance brokerage to the business, and it grew further. In addition, what we also realized that as we grew, we needed to hire more team members. And especially pre-COVID, it wasn't too bad hiring people. We could find staff in the UK doing a great job. But also pre-COVID, we'd also started using some offshoring or outsourcing firms based in India just to support some of the more simple compliance required issues such as bookkeeping, tax returns, that type of thing. And we thought, okay, it's going all right. But then COVID hit and I decided, right, we're going to shift everything back to the UK. Everything all changed. And I thought, right, I'm going to hire more staff in the UK to support the initiative. And that's when we really hit a block. Trying to find any good accountant who was experienced and capable and could do the work that we wanted to do was a real challenge. And we had a kind of a revolving door of people joining and then leaving. Primarily because they just didn't have either the right skill set, the right attitude, just on numerous factors. Okay, so I thought, right, we're going to change this. I'd seen what had worked in India previously, working with third parties, and I explored the idea of working with going back to those third parties, offshoring firms. And I thought, you know what, we can do this ourselves. Okay, so and having an Indian origin, having a contact base, knowing how India works was obviously a huge advantage to me. So we set up our own operation based out of Delhi, and that has grown over the last, 18 months or so. So that's supporting all our accountancy clients with the compliance, tax returns, payroll, year-end accounts, you name it, they do it. Okay. Obviously, we have team members here in the UK who liaise with them, manage and coach the team, develop the team. But now our team is at the point in India where we're adding team members to support other accountancy firms. So if someone needs someone to do bookkeeping or management accounts or tax returns, we can add team members in India for our other accountancy firm clients here in the UK. So that's kind of a potted history. Hope that helps.
No, very much so. So going back to when we were recruiting from the UK, how do we find recruits? Like, where do we go to find them? Was it Reed and Indeed, or was it LinkedIn, or word of mouth?
Yeah, it was a combination of things. So we'd obviously use the kind of main platforms, such as you mentioned, Indeed or Reed. We'd also use, of course, LinkedIn. Also use agencies to help us source people. But it was just and I was open to suggestion from everybody. Okay, and I got a few recruits from agencies, and I realized that I paid the agency fee, and then within weeks that person had left, and I was like, God, it was an expensive business that you're hiring people thinking they're going to transform your firm. You spent thousands on agency fees, and then realize, oh my God, it's just a non-starter. So it was just a revolving door of people, and I just thought you have to do things differently, and the world was changing. And you know what, we couldn't, like, as a small firm, you just could not afford to keep doing the same things. If you keep doing the same things, you keep getting the same results, I've learned. So
So we've talked about it a lot in other podcasts and webinars and on our blogs, but the recruiting shortage in the UK and the West generally, when we talk about accounting, What's causing that? Like, why is there such a shortage of skill of people going into accounting? What's going on?
Yeah, good question. So I think if you look at accountancy, firstly, isn't now. You've got people retiring at the older end of the accountancy profession, and we're not replacing those people who are retiring as quickly.
Yeah.
In addition, the younger people who enter the accountancy world, historically, let's say when I started, there were a lot more candidates entering accounting. But now people see other sectors as more interesting, more lucrative.
Yeah.
So they're going into tech, or they might be going straight into banking, or whatever it may be. And accounting isn't seen as an attractive occupation with the pay, etc. So I think that's certainly a factor as well. I think it's also seen now as a sector that maybe not overtaken, but certainly very AI will take some of the roles going forward. So less people.
I was going to say young people might be assuming, well, I can go into this industry and the job you got in 5 years.
Which I think is incorrect. But and there'll always be a need for accountants. But I think it's also just got a poor brand, to be honest, accountants. It's seen as that geeky, boring kind of role, which it isn't, I promise. But
it's sometimes a bit of a punchline.
Yeah. Whereas when you don't have a kind of you have the kind of the, whether you like him or not, you have people like Elon Musk, who's the tech kind of guru, and everyone wants to be like Elon Musk. Okay, you don't really have the equivalent in the accounting space, to be honest. Okay, so it's that kind of thing. People are going to go into tech or do something else. So I think you've got a brand image, and it's always been had a struggle there, but now it's even more so. Yeah.
So when you are looking for, if you are recruiting in-house in the UK or in other countries, what would you say? I mean, this doesn't just apply to accounting. Do you think skill or fit is more important?
When you say fit, what do you mean by fit?
Like culture. So would you prefer someone who knows their stuff, but you can't really get on with that well? Or would you prefer someone who needs maybe a little bit of training, a little bit of building up, but is going to get on really well in the office?
Definitely the latter, Chris. So definitely someone who's got the right attitude, who's hungry to learn. They might not have the skills. And that's what we've found with our team in India. We're hiring young guys who might not have all the prerequisite skills. Some of them do, but some don't. But we're willing to train them because, you know what, their attitude is like superb.
Yeah.
Okay. Because they're hungry, they're keen, they're driven, they want to achieve. Okay. And that's what we've really found unique in India. And that hasn't come easy. Obviously, you get people in India who haven't got the old attitude right or cultural fit or these types of things. Of course you do. Okay. But it just seems to be there are a dearth of people who are capable, who are keen, who speak great English, who've got good communication skills. But most overriding that the attitude is great.
Yeah. So when you are interviewing a candidate, what kind of questions do you tend to ask? Because, I mean, when I'm interviewing candidates for marketing roles, I use their CV and a couple of questions just to kind of gauge if they know their stuff. If they hit the right keywords, then I know they know what they're talking about. And then I spend most of it talking about them as a person. And just
sure.
So I think one of the phrases we've used together is, would you go for a pint with them?
Yeah.
Hang out with them.
That's actually very, very true. Okay, so and that's the same thing in hiring a remote team as well. You know, Chris, you want to feel that you can go out and have a laugh with them, and that's kind of what we do. When I go to India and meet the team, and I want to be able to say, let's go out to maybe not going for a pint, but we might be going for a meal or something with the team member and have a laugh, and that's so important because otherwise it's just going to be an uphill battle. Dealing with those types of people. So in terms of questions, there's always maybe the odd technical question, but in truth, I don't really get involved in those technical side of things. I have other team members that help me to do that and assess them. But it's that thought, would I want to go for a pint or go for a meal with them? Do I actually feel that I can rely on them? Do I feel that they're trustworthy? And if I feel they're trustworthy, then surely they should be trustworthy for client work and client-related handling activities. So I think that's really, really important. Are they going to say what they do and do what they say? You know, and of course we all make mistakes, and of course I'm the first person to stick my hand out. I've made zillions of mistakes, and I'm expecting my team members to make mistakes. But it's about how you deal with those mistakes and how you approach the situation. And I think that goes back to their attitude primarily, Chris.
Yes, because I mean, no matter how good a candidate is at their job, at some point you are going to get stuck in a project with them for a week where you're just at an impasse, and you'd rather be with someone who you can relate to and who you like, essentially.
Yeah, 100%. And I've been in running a business for like the last over 20 odd years now, 25 years almost. Okay, and I remember in my early days, I'd think, I've got to get the right candidate, the right people with the right skill set, and yeah, it's nice, but if you meet an arsehole, you meet an arsehole. Okay, excuse my language. Okay, and I don't have the time or the energy or the inclination to deal with that, whether it's a team member or whether it's a client. Okay, life's too short. Okay, and if I'm working with these people on a day-to-day basis, especially the team members, you want to be able to, have a laugh, whether they're sitting next to me or whether they're sitting on remotely across the world, that you feel comfortable enough to pick up the phone or pick up a Teams call, just to have a laugh, have a chat, and get on with them. That's so important. Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's even more important than on a remote basis, because otherwise you're as a remote team member, you're quite isolated at times. So you want to be able to have that relationship with someone sitting in another part of the world. Oh, okay. I had a laugh with him. It's good for him. And at some point we'll meet that person. Okay. So when I met with the team recently, when I went to Goa, I took the whole team there. It was great because I'd firstly got to know people through virtual calls and virtual team meetings. Then, and the people we'd hired, I'd realized, they're actually really nice people. Okay. And really kind of really just a good laugh. Okay.
Yeah,
they're good at their job as well.
Yeah, they're a really good laugh, and that does make so much more of a difference than being the best possible skills-wise candidate. Because
I think where people go wrong. Okay. I think where people go wrong in building a team, and I've made this mistake, is you try and get the best candidates and kind of got the right CV and all these types of things, but honestly that's irrelevant. You know what? It's how people get on with it to get to, you ultimately have to work together, whether you're doing accounting, marketing, or anything.
Yeah,
you have to work together. I can't do everything on my own. You can't do everything on your own. You have to work with people. So you have to build that team and that team approach. Okay, and if there's one person in the team that's kind of not quite right, okay, that can severely damage the business. Just one person, okay? Even if it's a team of 100 people, one person can have a real detrimental effect and just get people down or upset. And if that person is in a kind of a senior position as well, the impact of that can be really significant. So it's so important to highlight if there's a problem, you've got a bad apple or a bad person or not right for your team fit, you move them on as soon as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we can all name a couple of colleagues we've had in the past who weren't that great at the role, but you never forget the one you hated, the one that didn't get on well with the team. They're the ones that stick in your brain.
All right, you have to tell me later.
No, none of them at Samara, luckily. I'm thinking about my first couple of roles.
Okay.
We can have some stories about that one.
Oh, don't worry, I've got plenty when I'm in my investment banking days. They're etched in my skin. I've written them. You feel it. You know what? I remember that guy's name, and if I ever see him again.
I've just got this image now of you like on Wolf of Wall Street, rolling your eyes in the background, like, oh, these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, team is the heart of everything.
Yeah.
There's no room, and there's also no room for any prima donnas in the team. Okay, and you see that, especially when I was in banking, you see lots of prima donnas who think they're so wonderful, but really is no space for that. Really isn't.
Yeah, absolutely. So what? Moving back onto Samara Global, when we talked about a little bit with the challenges in recruitment and your existing cultural connections there, but so what made you decide, right, enough's enough, we're going to move the operation to India largely?
I think it was eventually got to a point of so much pain, of hiring. I think it was over a space of 6 months. It must have been about 6 or 7 people that just came and went in the UK team. And I think you probably remember some of them.
I do, yeah.
It's like, what the F am I doing? Okay.
Yeah, they're great people, but here today, gone tomorrow.
Yeah, just didn't have the right fit, right attitude. Yeah. And you just thought, you know what, I had to do something different. And that was a real impetus. And we were growing. And I think what we were finding is that to certainly build an accounting firm, it's a people business. You need good
Yeah.
people that you can trust, you can rely on, who can help you support the growth. And it was pointless us getting all the new business in if we couldn't actually deliver it because we've got the wrong people in the team to actually do it. So that kind of came around eventually. And that's kind of what that was the driving force, really. That too much pain, you get to a point, I've got to change it. Yeah.
So what were your first steps? I mean, did you go out there and look at the Indian Indeed, or?
What did I? That's a good question. What was the first step? The first step was like, right, we're going to do it. That was the thing.
Yeah.
But how? It's like, oh my god. And I've got connections, as you said. I know things about India, but it's like, really, where do I start? Okay.
Yeah.
And the first thing was to go on the equivalent of Indian Indeed and try and put an advert out there. But the funny thing I learned was that you put one advert out and you get literally thousands of applications. Okay. Not like here in the UK, put an advert on Indeed and be lucky to get one application. You get thousands, and they all promise that they're going to be brilliant. Okay. And then it's like a job and a half to actually filter those thousands of applicants to say what's right. But eventually we did. Okay. And then we took on our first team member, who was going to be the person who's going to help us build the infrastructure, build the team. And it kind of went from there, really. Okay. And there's been a huge learning point as we went through this to comply with Indian law and companies' issues and all of that type of stuff. And it's a constant learning thing out there. But it's been really, really good, really, really interesting. And we've got a solid team there that's, just gets things done,
So what challenges have you faced, though, building the team out there?
Yeah, okay. The challenges are that people say they can. One challenge is that Indian people is always, I can do the job, and they're all very nice and all very friendly. But when it actually comes to the reality of doing it, they actually can't do it. And you kind of pick that up very swiftly. And now, if they've got the right attitude, we'll help them support themselves to develop and do better and improve their skills, and that's fine. But if they've got a bad attitude and they're still promising they can do the job, then we'll kind of have to make some tough decisions. So that's certainly one challenge. I think technology is such an enabler, so that's really helped us interview people all over the place and building that team. I think the expectation is certainly in India that people like that hybrid kind of work environment, work from home, work from the office a bit. And I think they're a younger crowd, so it's more of an expectation, I think, now, even in the UK, let alone in India. I think challenges otherwise, I think it's about just managing, making sure that we've got the right team members. And as you do, you always find in your team there'll be some people who are really excelling, and some team members who either are at the bottom and are just might be taking you for a ride. Okay, because especially if they're remote, or actually, are they doing any work or not? But we have systems and processes and people in place to support that and identify any issues there. So overall, it's been a not a good experience, it's been a brilliant experience.
Oh, excellent. And talking about like day-to-day management, do you, as the business owner, how much of a hand in the day-to-day management over there do you have? Or I know we've got people over there who kind of manage operations on the HR level and that kind of thing. How much of a hand in it do you have?
I'm involved. I wouldn't say I'm not overly bearing. I don't like to think I am. I have to, ultimately, it's my job to hire the good people that can take responsibility and do that. So, but I will always talk to the Indian team members quite a few times a week. Okay, if there's an issue, they'll get me involved. And ultimately, as you said, I want it to work. So I'm certainly not a hands-off type of person. I want to get involved. So if I can help, I will get involved. And I enjoy it. And it's also learning about how things are done in another part of the world, and bringing perhaps some of my skill sets and knowledge from the UK to India, but also some of the things from India to the UK. So it's not one-way traffic; it's a two-way thing. It's really, I'm just really enjoying it. Really enjoying it.
Yeah, no, it has been a brilliant experience, as you said, over the last 18 months.
Yeah,
it's been brilliant. So for UK or Western or global accountants, or even just smaller businesses who are facing or trying to recruit accountants, how much can be outsourced or offshored to places like India, and how much needs to be done in-house? Like, I know bookkeeping and payroll, that can be done someone sitting in Timbuktu, but like taxes, that kind of thing. Is that something you can
Yeah.
offshore?
Yeah, it's quite interesting. I was reading some posts on LinkedIn yesterday, I think, and there's always people saying, "Oh, I get approached by hundreds of companies trying to sell out offshoring services to me, and what do the guys in India know about UK tax or this type of stuff?" And I think those people who are making those comments on LinkedIn are just pure ignorant, to be honest with you. You'll be surprised at the knowledge and the hard work these people have. There are people with better same qualifications I have, got similar years of experience, people with CPA US qualifications, you name it. They've got all this, so they know UK tax, they know US tax, they know all these things, they know all the systems and processes. So I think literally everything can be done, I think, out there. Obviously, you've got to find the right people and the right team to do it, but it can all be done. And that's why you see like the big firms like Deloitte, PwC, Ernst & Young, all of them are just setting up bigger offshore centers in that part of the world, because they know that all that compliance work can be covered over there. And then the teams over here in the UK, their job is to manage clients, manage relationships, and look at maybe other opportunities that may not be compliance stuff. But on the accounting side of things, I'm pretty confident that literally most things can be done there. Most things.
Okay, so anyone who is struggling to hire in their home country, offshoring, outsourcing.
So I'll give you an example. We have a client, one particular client that comes to mind. He's got a small practice here in the UK. He's basically adding every month he's adding a new team member in India with us. First month was a manager, then it's a bookkeeper, then it's going to be a year-end accountant, then it's going to be someone who does personal tax. Basically, all of these things can be done. And why? Because he's firstly finding that he's saving money, by hiring staff out there. But it's not the primary driver for him. It certainly isn't. The main driver, he's actually got people who can actually do the work, who are responsible, reliable, and who can get the job done. And there's a saving for him as well. But his primary reason is that he's getting the business in. But if he didn't have anyone to do the work, then it's just, he can't run a business. Okay. So that's what he's doing. And that's kind of repeated amongst other clients that we have as well. So I think it's so, I think where I personally think what's going to happen, this is my view, and is, of course, there'll always still be accountants here in the UK. Of course, there'll be the need for that. Of course, there will be. But I think, and with AI and everything, much of the back office work, bookkeeping, tax returns, compliance, payroll, you name it, preparation of accounts, that will all ship over there, all of it. And I think people who are thinking that, we're going to still do it here in the UK, I think they're in for a huge surprise over the next few years. Okay. And therefore the people who are here in the UK have to develop their skill set to be good at client handling, selling more business, building relationships, upselling other consulting type of services, that type of thing. That's where the opportunity is, because the compliance work will go overseas. AI will take it as well, a combination of those two. And then that's how, and there's a dearth of clever and capable people in places like India, but not only India, but other places in the world like the Philippines and other places that are set up for all of this.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. Well, I mean, I think that's all the time we have for today, and that's covered pretty much everything I wanted to talk about.
Sure.
So unless there's any final thoughts.
I think offshoring as a whole is, as I said, it's going to be the thing that's going to happen. It's happening already. Okay. I think there's resistance. There's lots of people who are wondering, well, no, I can't do that. But it's happening. And for those that do it and use it to their advantage, there'll be firms that grow. There'll be the firms that develop. Okay. Is it without problems? Is it without difficulties? Yeah, of course it is. It's not always easy managing teams overseas. But if you work with a partner like ourselves, we can support that initiative, and step by step, you can then build your global team, global firm, and provide the service you want to your clients.
Brilliant. Aaron, thank you very much for joining us today. And for everyone listening, if you need any help with essentially any part of starting, building, growing your accountancy practice, then contact us, read our blogs, follow our free course, watch our webinars. We're always here for anything you need.
Perfect. Thank you, Chris. And really enjoyed talking to you today. Yeah. And as Chris said, if you need any help, just reach out to me direct. We can always arrange a call with myself or one of the guys in India and map out your needs and then work out what your requirements are. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aaron.
And that's a wrap for another episode of the Unstoppable Business Podcast. We hope you enjoyed it today, and please do share us on social media and make sure you do subscribe. Thank you very much.